Welcome to Key Conversations, where you get to connect with the best of the music business, unlocking the secrets to exploding your music career, presented by In the Key of Success. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. The conversations you're about to hear are between our special guest and participants of my MX4 course, the Marketing and Branding, Money-Making, Mentorship Mastermind for Musicians. They are singers, songwriters, composers, producers, and artists just like you, asking their burning questions of our experts while transforming their careers over 6 weeks. If you think this could be you, check out mx4course.com to schedule a free half-hour coaching call with me to see if we'd be a good fit. So, let's get started. So today we are welcoming Lou Plaia, the co-founder and executive vice president of ReverbNation.com, which is any musician out there knows what ReverbNation is. It's an incredible platform for musicians, not only to interact with fans, but also to get opportunities for showcasing and licensing and you name it. It's also a great way there's email sign-up lists, music players, like kind of not jack of all trades. It's a jackknife, Swiss Army knife of websites for musicians is sort of how I look at it. Anyway, so welcome, Lou.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I just want to start off, and I mean, you worked at Atlantic Records and Lava, which now I think is part of Atlantic or
part of Universal now.
Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you, like, what are sort of 3 career highlights that have gotten you to where you are? And you've been in this particular position for a while. So what has you stay here?
I guess I was lucky when I got out of college. I was actually a finance person, which is kind of weird. So I started at Polygram Records in the late 80s, so I'm very old. And then basically I was a finance person there for 2 or 3 years. Then I went to Atlantic. My boss went there. And I was literally in the finance department doing budgets for like probably 7 years there. But my real passion was always wanting to help artists, like artist development and marketing. And the president actually gave me a shot after like 7 years in finance because he knew as a finance person, you deal with all the department heads like publicity and video promotion and radio. So I was actually probably one of the only people in the company who knew all the departments, what they did, and could put a dollar to it. So I knew what it cost to do this and to do that. So I guess one of my highlights was probably being one of the only people to cross over from like a finance person, like a little back office geek basically, to getting out there and really developing artists from scratch. People like Kid Rock and a whole bunch of other bands that I used to work with. So that was probably my main highlight. And then once I left Atlantic, I guess almost 10 years ago now, I was able to meet up with a bunch of guys. I had this idea to put together something where we offer artists everything a label offers, pretty much everything. And, because the labels kind of stopped developing artists. So I said, well, why don't we and I said this in 1999 to Atlantic Records and Warner Music Group. I said, why don't we give artists access to everything, email systems, you name it, let them grow their careers, and we would have dibs at signing for the first bands that pop up. And they kind of laughed at me. They said, like, why would artists and fans want to talk to each other online, and why would anyone listen to music online, things like that. So that was kind of in 1999. This 3-page idea I had, and then 3 years later, like I think it was MySpace I was born, which is kind of very similar. But when I left Atlantic Records, I had this stupid 3-page plan that I gave in 1999. I met a bunch of technology guys because I don't know anything about technology. I mean, I've learned a little bit over the years, but I realized to create a company that wanted to offer everything to artists, we needed technology people. So I met up with these 4 guys, and we just created this Reverb Nation. They went out and raised money. They did all the technology, and I was like the only music guy in the company at the time. So I was actually trying to create relationships, help bands as 20 a week would roll in. Now we get like a couple thousand a month.
Wow.
So that was probably my highlight, is being very entrepreneurial, I think, trying to help artists grow from scratch.
I love that.
one of the things, I mean, Lou and I have met a long time ago, and something that has always struck me is like, you never occurred to me as like some record exec CEO type person, even though that's what you are. You're very humble, and you're like, oh, you Kid Rock. I mean, please. You're kind of entrepreneur, but you came up with this amazing platform based on this, just like, this is a good thing for artists. And it's just very, it's humbling to be around someone who's humble. And I mean, it's a huge platform now, and it's really grown. And I've had so many opportunities to do really cool things through it. And thank you because of that. So what has you stay? I mean, I see, I follow you on social media and stuff, and you're always at some cool concert somewhere, like at a conference. And so what is that, because of your own personal interest in music, or is that part of the job? How do they overlap a little bit?
I think it's both. It's weird. I'm pretty much at maybe 15 conferences a year, like all over the country. I don't really get to leave the country too much. And I usually deal with small and mid-level ones because I find that they're the most intimate and they're the most, I think I'll get more out of them than these big crazy ones like CMJ and South by Southwest where it's so hit or miss. I just love being there. I'm not there to, get artists to join our site because 99% of them probably already on the site, and they probably got into the conference because of the site, because one of the opportunities we offered. So I'm not there to try to recruit artists. I'm really there just to help out any way I can, give any knowledge I can, and also make introductions to other industry people because I do have a lot of connections. We do broker so many deals for artists, whether it's festivals or licensing or brand deals, and now working with a lot of labels. So anytime I see something great, I recommend it to somebody in the industry. So yeah, I just love doing it. I love music, and I love seeing new bands play because I love watching them grow. And 4 years later, say, I got to see that person in front of 3 of us play, which is awesome. But the bad thing about it is I don't get to see like great bands that I love. Like when Radiohead comes to town, I never have a chance to go see him because I'm too busy doing other things. So right. I don't get to see my favorite bands anymore, which is fine.
Yeah.
Have to make the time, I guess.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a bounce there. So one more question for you, and then I'm going to open it up to questions from the participants of the MX4 course that I've got here. It's become such a huge site. How does an artist avoid the needle in a haystack syndrome that tends to happen with bigger sites like taxi licensing, for example? I hear that needle in a haystack analogy all the time. So what can an artist do to not fall into that on Reverb Nation?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because they are a needle in a haystack. I mean, there's, we have 4 million bands. I would say, I don't know the exact number, but there's probably 1 million of them that really aren't active. So maybe there's 3 million bands that are really using our services, whatever they are. But I think bands don't really update everything. We have bands submitting to God knows how many, 1,000 opportunities a year or whatever it is we offer. And I'll go behind the scenes and look at one of these submission dashboards at the talent buyer for Summerfest or whatever. They'll look at it, and they usually start with number of fans. They got to start somewhere to start reviewing the submissions. So they usually sort it by the fans first, and that's a combination of Twitter, Facebook, Reverb, YouTube, Instagram, maybe. And it blows my mind that so many artists don't sync up those pages. So you might be the best band in the world, but you're not syncing up anything, and you're coming, 3,000 bands submit to something. You might be like number 2,800 because you didn't sync up your Facebook page and your Twitter page and things like that. So the talent buyer, they look at it and they say, you've got no fans. Why would I book you on my stage if you have no fans? So you gotta they don't update their pages, and it makes me mad because I know these bands are better than it looks on paper.
Yeah.
And even like photos, they don't use professional photos, and I think photos are really, really important, probably more than ever. We live in a photogenic world and a video world nowadays, Everything is about photos and videos, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is, YouTube. And bands just, they'll put up their main photo will be a picture of their album cover or them hanging out at a bar or something like that. That creates zero interest in anybody looking at your press kit or even just your profile, because the person doesn't know what they're getting. Like you're hiding behind something. So I think putting a real photo, I mean, pay $100, $200 to get a real good one done. And hire a college kid who will do it for free as part of his project or something. Have a good photo, have a really good video. If you have a live video, that's really good. That'd be great, especially if you're going after like live shows. I think bands just have to take a step back before they start promoting and trying to sell, and make sure they have all their content in place, and then upload the right stuff, your best songs, your best videos, your best photos, and that's what people want to see. I mean, would you hire someone? You hire someone for your club that doesn't take the time to even promote themselves on a page that could be done in like 3 minutes? I wouldn't. I mean, if I had a venue, I'm not booking anybody without seeing them, without even looking at a picture of them. I just wouldn't. So put yourself in a label's shoes or a magazine's shoes or venue shoes. So that's what I would recommend artists do more.
Yeah, the photo thing, I was just reading a marketing article this morning. No matter how much you think it's about the music, it's about the image first. It's like, it's so much easier to have a first impression visually than it is audibly, because you can see something in real time. Like a magazine cover, you're walking by, but you have to actually listen to a certain amount of time of music to get that first impression. So yeah, it's totally visual in terms of the first impression. So I think the photos, and when I see inconsistent, like when your Twitter header is different colors and fonts than your Facebook header, than your Reverb Nation photos, like that drives me bonkers. Like I want that it's brand alignment is what
Exactly.
It is. And we talk a lot about that in this MX4 course. It's like, it just steps you up on a professional level, just eons, if you just do this very simple. There's some great tools out there. I always talk about Canva.com. It's like a really cool graphics, makes different headers for whatever size you need. So you just go into Reverb Nation, what's the ideal profile picture dimensions, and just go make a consistent one, and it better be a good looking photo. If it's not a photo, then find a cool drawing or logo or color thing. Like if you don't have the professional photos, because it just screams like we're not ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a really great point. And then also just updating that stuff. You have new photos, or you have a new song, or you have new anything. Yeah, so important. And those are so simple. Those are the simplest things you can do to not be a needle in a haystack. I love that.
It's simple, and then the photos are really important, because then it gives you something to, when you update it, it gives you something to tweet about or put on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. It's something to talk about. Hey, check out, what do you think about, and get them involved. What do you think about the new photos? Which one do you like best? Engage with your fans more. It's another thing they don't really do. They're just trying to sell. Don't try to sell anything until you got enough fans to sell to.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's great. So first question from one of our participants who's not here on this call, but sent it in to me. What's in terms of the opportunities that Reverb Nation offers, what are the best ones if you're going after the live performance to spend the money on, like the most likely to get? Because some of them are paid, correct? And some of them are free opportunities.
We don't do any. Well, I shouldn't say we don't do any. We don't do submission fees, except the only ones we allow submission fees for are conferences. But that's only if they give you free badges. Like even if you're not picked to play, you get a free badge, which is worth a lot more anyway. But otherwise, we do not allow submission fees, whether it's Summerfest or Firefly. No matter how big it is, we won't do business with them, but if they charge a submission fee.
Right. Okay, cool. So then the question is, does it make sense for an artist to apply to all of them that their genre would work for, or is there any benefit in being selective?
I think if what you should do is, if say Warped Tour opportunity comes up, we spam you with the email. You get the email. One, find out what Warped Tour is. Are you really a Warped Tour type band? If you're a jazz musician, you're not going to ever get picked to play Warped Tour probably. So don't bother submitting to those. But anything that you're willing to travel to, like if it's a live show or something, if you're willing to travel to it, and it's in your genre, I think it's a great opportunity. But go to the website and check it out. you may not want to drive 5 hours to a tiny little festival that's that's basically in the town or something like that. And we do have some of them. We don't have, not everything we do is huge. We have a lot of small things. It might not be worth your while going to that. But you may want to drive 5 hours to go play Firefly to open up for Radiohead, or be one of the bands on the same stage as them. That's definitely an opportunity.
Yeah. So it's really balancing like the opportunity. I have this thing that exposure is a 4-letter word, but there's a balance between, are you getting, are you going to be able to collect band emails, that currency? Are you going to collect actual money? Or are you just going to have so much fun doing it? Like there's sort of a graph that you can sort of look at. If you're not getting anything, if you're going to be background music, you're going to be miserable, and you're not going to be able to get new fans. But they're claiming exposure. Like you have to really look at what the exposure means. I always put up red flags when I see exposure, but I think that makes sense. Really looking at the gig, taking the time. So if you have the time to put into, don't submit blindly, because if you get it, you definitely want to be going, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember,
and there's the thing about festivals is really cool. There was just a Nielsen thing. I printed it out, but I can't find it. See it somewhere. But it's actually the biggest increase in artist discovery. So consumers are finding new artists from festivals. I think it's 14%, I believe. It like doubled.
Wow.
From previous years. It's always been word of mouth, number one, things like that. But it's huge, and I think a lot of it is because there's so many festivals now. I mean, there used to be a couple. Now there's a couple every year in every city practically.
Wow.
So it's people are discovering new bands playing festivals, which I feel like we've helped with that because we've put thousands of bands on stage this year alone. So I guess we kind of helped with that. So I think playing festivals, if I was in a band and I had the opportunity to drive 2 hours to go play on a big stage, I would do it. That's my opinion. You may not get any emails. You may not have anyone come to your merch booth. That's something you have to discuss with your band. Is it worth doing? Like you said, is it worth doing for nothing? Because a lot of times they don't pay you.
Yeah. Festivals are an awesome experience. I did my fair share of them, and people find you in the festivals. Like you will get your new super fans through there, and you just never know who's listening. So at some point it's a why not.
And some of the bigger bands, they may fall in love with you on stage.
Yep.
And they take you out on the road. So that happens a lot, especially on Warped Tour type shows where the bands are very much community driven.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Next question. How do you see successful artists really engaging with email with their fans?
I just had to hang up my other phone. Let's see. So the game, add to their mailing list. We used to add to their mailing list, of course.
Or just how do the engagement? How do they really? What are successful bands doing in terms of engaging with their fans through the email list, including growing it? But
I think you really have to target the people on your email list of what you're doing. So if you're playing a show in New York, just send it out to people in the tri-state area that you're playing. I think too many bands just and every time they send an email blast out, it goes to everybody. And that's a way of losing fans because people in LA don't care about your New York show, so they're probably going to unsubscribe to your list if you keep doing that. So that's a way to prevent people from leaving. To get people more engaged, I would ask questions with them. I feel like a lot of bands are just informing their biggest fans, which are probably on their mailing list. It's always about them. It's always about the artist. Get them more involved. Ask them what they're doing. Same thing on social media. Just spend more time caring more about them. I mean, don't make it all about you and trying to sell them a ticket or an album or something.
And how much engagement are people? I mean, because we've got so much social out there now, and Periscope and Instagram, and how are people using Reverb Nation exclusively with fans, or is it really a base to reach out and use as a hub for all the other social media if you properly connect all those channels? How are successful artists using Reverb Nation as that social media interaction platform?
I think it is. I think we are kind of like a hub where we like to see we're the home base for 4 million bands. We never really cared if you tried to get people to come back to your Reverb page. We were more about giving you guys tools to put on Facebook and on your website, things like that, where you can capture emails and have a music player. Those are the widgets that we started doing probably before anybody else 9 or 10 years ago. We were the first company to do the Facebook app, first artist-driven Facebook app, which was like 7 or 8 years ago. So we want to be the hub. You can do your tweets and posts and everything from Facebook if you want, but use our tools on your other sites. Use our music player. It's a very cool music player. Use our join the mailing list widget. Make sure you have that on your website. I mean, your website is so important to you. It's the only thing you own. We remember the MySpace days where all those bands that were relying on the MySpace fans, when MySpace went away, well, those bands were starting from scratch. Same thing. If ReverbNation goes away, you're screwed. So, make sure your website is something that you have there, and you can get one of them done really cheap too. God forbid Reverb goes away. You don't want to lose all those fans, so make sure you direct people to your website as well. And we give you widgets you can put on your website that's collects emails, things like that.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast, if you go to intheKeyofSuccess.com/resources, you get 3 free months from hosting through Bandzoogle. And Bandzoogle, you can just plug in all sorts of different widgets. I think ReverbNation is connected to Bandzoogle. You can input really easily all the widgets if you get the HTML. It's so simple.
We do. We have the same thing. We actually used to use Bandzoogle. We partnered with them for a few years. So we have the same thing called Site Builder, I think. Bandzoogle is amazing too. They're all great. Yeah,
there's a lot of easy ways now, and it's definitely not something that you should be spending a lot of your money on. There's so many other things to be spending your money on.
Stay tuned for next week when we come back, talk more with Lou Plaia about all things bands and branding and websites, and it's just going to be great. Please don't forget to rate and comment on iTunes and Stitcher Radio if you like this podcast. It's the best way to keep it going, get more subscribers, and continue to share this awesome information with the indie music community. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. All of the music on this podcast has been created by yours truly. The theme song is called Inevitably, written with Cameron Ernst and produced by Joey Ock. You can find all the songs, plus more information on my music career at CherylBE.com. If you want to be one of the reasons I can keep this podcast and my blog Living on Gigging going, then head to patreon.com/CBEmusic. There, you can contribute $1, $2, $5 for the creation of each of these free musician resources. Together, we can keep them coming and inspire other creative people to do what they love and do it well. Again, that's patreon.com/CBEmusic. Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their easy point-and-click editor. All the features you could possibly imagine for a professional website are built in. So, because you are a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special 3-month free trial just for you. Go to www.intheKeyofSuccess.com/resources and click on the Bandzoogle logo to access your free extended trial.